Nicely done, and thank you for staying within the time limitation. We now have standard questions that we ask our civilian nominees, and I just need a verbal yes or no from each of you simultaneously. Have you adhered to applicable laws and regulations governing conflicts of interest?
Yes.
Yes.
Have you assumed any duties or taken any actions that would appear to presume the outcome of the confirmation process?
No.
Exercising our legislative and oversight responsibilities makes it important that this committee, its subcommittees, and other appropriate committees of Congress receive testimony, briefings, reports, records, and other information from the executive branch on a timely basis. Do you agree, if confirmed, to appear and testify before this committee when requested?
Yes.
Do you agree to provide records, documents, and electronic communications in a timely manner when requested by this committee, its subcommittees, or other appropriate committees of Congress, and to consult with the requester regarding the basis for any good faith delay or denial in providing such records?
Yes.
Will you ensure that your staff complies with deadlines established by this committee for the production of reports, records, and other information, including timely responding to hearing questions for the record?
Yes.
Will you cooperate in providing witnesses and briefers in response to congressional requests?
Yes.
Will those witnesses and briefers be protected from reprisal for their testimony and briefings?
Yes.
And that concludes, that concludes our standard questions. And it's now time for us to begin the 5-minute rounds. And I hope members will be as observant of the 5-minute time limit as our distinguished nominees are. First of all, a quick yes or no from all of you. Much of the funding in the Defense Reconciliation Bill is unspecific because of our rules and will technically be at the discretion of the Department of Defense, though we will write recommendations for them. A quick yes or no. Do you commit to follow the Congress's spending recommendations in defense reconciliation unequivocally?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes from all three. Okay, let me begin with you, Colonel Anderson. There's an Air Force pilot shortage. How big of a challenge is that? What are the reasons for it? Does that include the fact that civilian pilots for the airlines are getting higher pay, better, more regular schedules, and more time at home? And what can we in the Congress and you in the administration do about this?
Thank you, Senator. I hung up the uniform a full 16 years ago, and we were talking about pilot shortages then, as we have been talking about a number of other issues. And so the Air Force is embarked on attempting to address this in a very vigorous way. They have implemented based on my rating, a $50,000 bonus. But monetary compensation is not the only incentive that keeps our pilots in the cockpit. It is such things as the quality of their service, to have challenges, to be able to step up and exercise their leadership skills, to do any number of things.
Well, how can we improve on that, though?
Well,
sir?
one of the things, Senator, that I just read about in Air and Space Forces magazine, which I was unfamiliar with, the Air Education and Training Command has just begun a new initiative this year where the AETC commander is going to begin a pilot program, no pun intended, to test out initial pilot training, IPT, which will be done at civilian flying schools, and then to feed those graduates into traditional undergraduate pilot training. Based on the reading in that article, it can be done at a wash without requiring additional financial resources, and they believe that they can generate an additional 1,500 pilots a
Okay.
year.
IPT before UPT. Well.
That is correct.
We could visit the entire 5 minutes and the entire time of the hearing on that. Let me turn to you, Dr. Napoli. Of course, we know where the president is right now, and we know there are discussions about the Iranian nuclear program. And we're also very aware of the verification challenges under the defunct JCPA. In your view, what steps should we consider in verifying possible future agreements with Iran? And do you think there's any point in even trying that?
Thank you, Senator Wicker. I appreciate the question. The complexity and seriousness of the Iranian nuclear issue is obviously very recognized. At this time, I'm not privy to U.S. government or detailed matters regarding our nation's discussions with the government of Iran. However, if confirmed, I will commit to working with the State Department diplomatically, the Department of Defense, the administration, and the broader Department of Energy to ensure that the Office of Defense Nuclear Nonproliferation can bring the tools and expertise needed to address the Iranian nuclear issue.
Okay, but you know from open sources, from the news media, that verification was difficult under the JCPA.
Yes, Senator. I fully support the IAEA's efforts for a comprehensive safeguards agreement and the broader goals of an additional protocol. Verification is the heart of nonproliferation, and I think we should all strive to meet those broader nonproliferation norms.
Mr. Tell, how are we going to move past some of the burdensome bureaucratic delays that have frustrated all of us on both sides of the dais?
Thank you, Chairman Wicker, for the question. The Supreme Court rendered an opinion in 2023 called the Sackett decision. This decision provided clarity to the question about the regulatory regime related to wetlands and navigable waterways. It's my understanding that the Environmental Protection Agency, in coordination with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, is currently working to provide additional clarity about the impacts of that decision, and the goal would be to provide clarity to stakeholders across the country so that they understand where the regulatory regime of the federal government stops and starts. With regard to the various flood control and navigation projects across the country, the Congress is, of course, very interested in these projects and has been very involved in directing the executive branch to execute them. It's incumbent upon the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works to provide transparency and clarity to the Congress, to the public, about the progress of those projects, what may be impeding them. In some cases, it may be that the project's authorized, but the funds haven't been appropriated. It may be that a local, non-federal entity has paperwork that it still needs to complete, or it may be another agency's regime that is a barrier to progress on these projects. But
might very well be. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Senator.